How's it going, everyone? This is Anon. None of this is financial advice. It's for entertainment purposes only. So we're going to get started and take a look at a couple things going on today. Obviously, it was a rough day on the market. It's been a rough kind of set of this year. So let's take a look. All right. What's up, Cook? How are you? You're first. You won today. All right. So what are we doing? We're going through. Let's go to my channel. Let's get this out on the Discord. What's going on, guys? What's up, Jason? Dying by day. Yeah, day by day. Yep. It's been a rough little stretch. I mean, but that's across the market. Unless you were in like a handful of plays or inverse the market, you pretty much got hammered today. If you want, I'll pull it up. So yeah, they've looked interesting. So there's a couple ones right now that have looked interesting. Oh, James was the first one to smash the like button, though. James wins. James wins that prize. What's up, Jerry? Yeah, brutal day. Brutal day. Yeah, I mean, I just want you guys to look at this. So this is this year, right? So here's December. Here's January. So since January, we're at 480 basically. We're now sitting here at what did we close? 375. So we're lower by a full 100, huh? Almost. No, more than that, right? Yeah, we're more than that. So, rough. So let's see. Yeah, but I was gonna say about these guys here. They had a nice little stretch today. They're on our scanner. I know they've been kind of like they're having a nice run. So these guys, Alt, this one, and Redbox in some ways because it gapped up. Those ones are the ones right now that are running. Remember about this one, though. This is I just want to make sure everyone understands what Redbox is. Redbox is a short squeeze play that if they announce warrants, if they do any merger news, you're going to have all of a sudden, can it still squeeze and go higher? Sure. But at the same time, it can just as easily, if warrants all of a sudden are reinstated, lots of stuff that people claim it can't happen, but they said that about SST and it happened. So just be careful of that one. But yeah, I scalped it and then I bought some puts on it just because I think eventually when the merger news comes out, that will drop. So I'm trying to make money on the downside as well. So I'll make money on both sides of the play. This one we found, Fish and I were going through some stuff and we found this one, Alt. And then there was also Indo and HUSA, which is this one. And then HUSA's been doing okay. They're an interesting one because their oil didn't have like a great day today, but at the same time, they have the ability to, because they're such a small cap, they have the ability to actually squeeze also. So HUSA's another one that's interesting. So there's a couple of them if you're looking around. You just have to make sure once things already go up 30%. You got to make sure that, there's no warrants, there's nothing else going on with that. So we'll take a look at some of these other ones. But, for most of us, a lot of us are in Aterian, so we'll cover some of that today. Obviously, that was a rough day, but I just want to show you guys, like, here's on the hour, right? So we did have at least an interesting kind of we went down, pushed back up, what do we hit? 2 basically 260, and then came back down, and we finished for the day for 250. 250 is an interesting spot because obviously there's contracts there. That's the lowest strikes that they have. If they open up the $1 strikes, though, those will be interesting. On like if they open those up on the monthly, I think that will be interesting. But that's, until that happens, we can't assume that's going to happen. So at this point, 250s are going to be a very, very key level for Tyrion because that's the lowest they can get stacked for the monthlies. So, I've already noticed today whenever it dipped down, I was buying the $2.50 2024 calls. And if you notice, as soon as the price goes up, those options are already like looking good for, like I'm usually up like a couple grand every time that it goes above 250. So you can get those pretty cheap. I was picking them up for like 122 at one point today, like something crazy. Like I was buying those and really happy about it at like 145, and I got a couple of them filled at like 122, I think. So those are very, very, like, they'll probably pay out because you basically have to be $4 by the time 2024 rolls around. I think that's very possible in the Aterian. So those ones are good options for me. Not financial advice, but obviously, like, I like those options because you've got a ton of theta, and it's not that much more than the 2023 one. So, I mean, you're picking up a full year of theta for basically pennies. That's pretty good. So, but yeah, the $2 2024 calls for 250 those were cheap today. So, all right. Let me just get this out to the Discord. And then the last thing we have to do, right, is... All right, so people want to know about, will Ethereum go under $2, right? So here's my thought, Dave. Right now, if you look at our market cap... So let's go here. So our market cap right now is 163, right? So let me just show you this real quick before I get any further in. Sorry, I'm just trying to get here. And we need to pick up this right here. Hold on. I think I told you guys I'm supposed to tweet out every time, and I never do it. And I'm trying to get more people in here so we can talk about all these things. So I'm just going to copy and paste it real quick, and I'll be done in a second. And then... All right, there we go. Cool. Nah, I'm never panicking. Like it hit 210 like just weeks ago, so I'm not in panic mode. For me, this is actually just like I'm just mad that I can't buy more. Like I still have a little bit of ammo left, but like I want to buy as much as I can down at these levels. For this DTC, a couple other stocks, like there's a bunch of stuff that is like super in my cap. In my opinion, what I'm looking for is this. So everyone knows about the S&P, right? So you've got the S&P right now, the SPY, and the SPY is obviously tanking, right? So we came back up, recovered. Everybody's like, oh, everything's good, and then plummet, right? In the last 2 days, it just absolutely gets like nailed down. So, I told everyone, if you've been listening for a while, I told you guys I see the SPY filling some gaps down at the 340 level. And I showed you, and I drew a line out on this. If I go to SPY, I showed you guys Remember, I showed you this one right here in the 340 range. This line I drew out. Well, look where we are now. Getting a lot closer to that line, aren't we? Right? Now, here's the thing. We did gap here. So the question is, are we going to fill these gaps that we've left up here? Yeah, at some point we are. The question is, are we going to fill it before we fill this stuff down here, or is it going to be on the way back up? I don't know. But I can tell you right now, the entire market's just like absolutely getting destroyed. So I do anticipate filling these gaps at some point. But as long as the stock, so here's the thing, like, so these large caps are all overpriced, in my opinion. So, like, if you look at the history of the S&P, right, and let's go back more than just a day, but, like, let's go back to, like, on the weekly or the monthly, right? Look where we are. So, this is the very start back in the 90s. This was the dot-com crash. This was the 07, 08, like, financial crisis, recession, right? Stocks goes down, and then we start recovering. We had that little dip, right? And then this was COVID right here. This right here was COVID. Now, I just want to show you guys, look how much we are just pumped up. So we hit 480. I remember sitting here and saying to myself, I think it's going to touch 4 and it's going to plummet. And we went all the way to 480. So that surprised me. So what I'm seeing now is this. You're sitting here and you've got all these overvalued things. So what happened during this time frame? You had stimulus money and all this extra money in the, like, being pumped in, quantitative easing. They should have been tightening during the cycle. The economy or the stock market was booming, and they kept using quantitative easing. They should have pulled in the reins. Now what's going to end up happening is now inflation's running hot, all these things are going wrong, and now you've got a financial nightmare on your hands because this is just the tip of the iceberg, probably. And I'm like a doom and gloom guy. Stocks go up over time, but we are going to see a pullback at some point. And just the question is, how far back does this pull back? Does it pull back to this line or just this one? A bit more in between, you know, like, could we go back to roughly COVID levels? I drew both of these lines out because those are ones of potential interest. So, with all this large cap being so overinflated, like if you look at the price per, like the PE ratios on some of these, like, you know, biggest ones, they were super, super, super elevated, right? So where do you put money now, right? If you're pulling money out of the S&P, right? And we'll go to the weekly. If you're pulling money out, and it might have another run up, and then you're going to distribute, you're going to get back down. So where do you put your money now, right? Some people move it to bonds. Other people will go through and yeah, sorry. I saw a meme thing on the Discord that made me laugh. So anyway, what I was trying to say is, you need to put your money somewhere. Some people will rotate to bonds. Other people will find, you know, other places to put it, what's really oversold right now? Well, let's take a look at the IWM, the small caps, right? And maybe XRM. This has been pretty beat up, right? This entire section, like, it's just been basically chopping around. Small caps right now have been relatively beat down, and so could we see some rotation into the medium and small caps from the large caps? Yeah, probably. Obviously, that would be, you know, it would make sense. So, yeah, I could see, for example, I don't think, do we leave any big gaps? I think here. So my guess would be I was looking for an entry, it would be around this area. So in the 160s for IWM. But yeah, you could see, for example, you know, and that's about in line with, yeah, like 163 to, yeah. So I think we're getting pretty close to maybe a reversal for small caps. I don't know. That's just a guess, but you're starting to get oversold, as you can see on the daily, or sorry, the weekly. On the monthly, let's see where we are. On the monthly, we are about 30s, right? 30, 39, something like that. Yeah, so we're starting to get oversold on the monthly. We're definitely getting oversold on the weekly. On the dailies, the same thing. What was that 32, 33, something like that? Wait, here. 34. On the 1 hour, we're already oversold. So, like, I could see a rotation to small caps at some point in the next couple, like, weeks or months. If they start pulling money out of the large caps, then I could see it rotate, some money rotate into small caps, which means that they would push them down before they enter in. So, but it all depends, right? Still in our loading zone, getting towards the bottom range of it, and that's where I was telling people, like, it gets dangerous once this gets much lower, because once you start getting lower, you have to account for the balance sheet. And that's something that I can show you real quick. I can just go to the Aterian site and pull it up. Okay, right, so we did first quarter results. I can just easily pull this up. All right. All right, here we go. So, we have more cash, right? So, this number is the key one right now to me. Because if you cut out some of the fluff, which is like some of this stuff, like the goodwill, the intangibles, that to me is a little bit of fluff. So let's look at hard assets. So basically 140, 139, right? So if you were to go ahead and do what market cap is, so let's pull that up real quick so you can see. All right, so if we have 39,016 divided by, and what do we have, 65 million, right? Roughly, like 65 million. So this is where we're looking at, like the 213 to 220s, somewhere in that range. I don't know what the exact share count is right now, but it's roughly around this area. So 213 to like 220 is where I expect to see some institutional buying if it gets that low. The reason I say that is because that is your cash, your accounts receivable, your inventory, your prepaid assets, all that stuff's like hard, and if you dip below this, that's pretty greedy. Now, granted, some of it could just be the market selling off compared, and combined with the shorts just eking out the last bits. But these guys are profitable on their shorts. They're super profitable. And at some point before the spring gets loaded, they're going to try to start closing their positions without moving the stock too much. So that's their goal. They need to close down some of their positions. That will naturally start pushing the price back up. So, let's see. Yeah, I mean, like, people were asking, am I worried? No, I'm not worried. Like, we hit 210 just weeks ago. It feels like forever ago, but it wasn't that long ago. It was back in March, I think it was. 210. It was, yeah, March. All right, March 14th, something like that. This run came out of nowhere, and what I see is us basically, once again, look at Wyckoff. I can pull up a Wyckoff for you so you can see. But we're basically just accumulating again. So let's pull up Wyckoff real quick. And this is how, things work is, you have these institutions and they buy and sell, right? I'll pull up two. So this is a very simple kind of this is basically like almost like an RSI, right? So this is an accumulation area where you get oversold. You start having institutions, smart money, accumulate in this direction. They'll hold it off as long as they want. And then what happens is instead of just, keeping it down here forever, which they're not going to be able to do, they basically oversell things. They get everybody, like all the retail basically paper handing out, and then they put their own money in, and then they ride it up. And that's when, when things get really bad and everyone's like, oh my God, I should just sell. Like, I can't take any more losses. And then it runs like the next day or the next week. It's always that way because they know market psychology. They know how to basically push retail to the edge, get them to jump off, and then they take over the ship and ride it back up to profits. And you're like, this is what they do. So we can pull up two accumulation patterns. So accumulation means that you're actually you're buying. All right, so we'll put these two up next to each other so you guys can see. All right. They're very similar, but I'm just showing you guys. There's one big difference is the one has the test down here, and it usually makes the all-time lowest low. And then you will see these, the spring test, it will bounce, and then from here you start seeing rapid movement. This one, your spring test is down here in phase B, and then it will go ahead and kind of accumulate for a while, and then you'll see your run-ups, right? So if we take this away, just kind of put this roughly here. If I stretch it, we'll kind of make it a little longer. All right, so we have it down, down, up, down, up, down. We didn't make a new higher high, but it doesn't need to follow exactly. But basically what you see is when they're keeping it in this range and then maybe even pushing down lower, this is usually towards a spring. So this is where you get that oversold thing. Remember I showed you this thing, this oversold here? Whenever you see that, it usually results in a spring happening and then it moving back up. So, it's not as scary once you understand how all this stuff works. Like, people tend to watch the price and their dollars going up and down, and that's not how I typically trade stocks. I typically trade stocks by just kind of understanding how they work, because when you understand how smart money works, then it's not as scary. All right. So, anyway, let's go back and answer some questions. All right. Market's rough. Yeah, what's up, Big? You may have jumped off already. That was a while ago, but good seeing you. Bad day. Better average, though. That's good. Yeah, SST burned the hell out of me. Yeah, and unfortunately, Jerry, I was, I was one of the people that was vocal about, be careful. People were like, "Oh, you're just an ATER, lover. You're trying to dismiss." And I'm like, "No, I'm telling you right now. Like, I see things that worry me about the play, because whenever you're basically saying this can't happen because XYZ, I can find a million examples of like things happening even when they said that was impossible. Like Spurt, same thing. I was told that shorts had to close their positions going to the merger. It was confirmed by a bunch of brokers, blah, blah, blah. It never happened. They were able to roll it over. And nobody would answer any of my questions when I was calling around to FINRA, the SEC, all these different things. And then you had stocks like SST where they were like, oh, well, there's no way they can push these, S1s out. And I started looking up, and then somebody actually pointed me in the direction of an Excel spreadsheet, and the guy was tracking how long it was taking for the S1s to get filed. And the numbers were bad, months ago, but then they had improved. So the average turnaround on S1s was 11 days. And everyone on the SST was like, no, like it will take at least a month and a half, 2 months. I'm hearing the same thing about Redbox, which is worries me because obviously, like, whenever I hear people say, well, no, that can't happen. This thing won't happen. This merger and all this stuff won't happen until much later. I heard the same things about SPRT, and it got absolutely destroyed when it started going into the merger news. So I just want people to be careful. Okay. Mashton. If I had more cash, I would buy some ATER. It's stupid low. It's an easy double. Yeah, I think it does. So, I mean, yes. So could it go back to the balance sheet thing? Could it go below 213? Sure, it could, but you're then going below current asset values. And the last time it went below current asset values, I'll show you, was down here. Current asset values were at 245 back on this one. So current assets were, we touched it here, and I was like 240. I was like, my God, like we bounced perfectly off of this like 240 down here. Like we'd hit it. Where was it? I think it was on the first time, because we went down and we touched 240. Yep, 245 right here. And that's exactly what current assets were listed at. And we had a run up, and it went all the way up to basically, I think, almost 4 from there. And then it got pushed down because of Russia and all that stuff. And then it hit this all-time low of 210. And then from there, we quickly, where are we on right now? The hourly. So here's on the daily. As soon as we hit this 210, it was basically what? So we'll just say this was a Friday. What day was that? What was the 15th of March? It was a Tuesday. So 15th of March was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday. So 3 weeks later, we had that run once it hit that spring. So, and just, gonna remind you one last time, springs happen when things are oversold and they get pushed down into this like accumulation area, and then to the absolute worst part of it, and then they'll start coming up, and then they'll start slapping the ask, and then they'll quickly move the price up if they want to, because they've already loaded the boat down here. And then what happens is, and you can see it on, like, let me just show you what distribution looks like instead of accumulation. So let's pull up. I expect it to be kind of chopping up here, and then when the bottom drops out, just, it'll look like, let me see if I can find the distribution one for Wyckoff so I can show you guys. I don't have any distributions saved, but that's fine. It basically looks like an upside down one of the accumulations. Like, it's basically flipped on upside down, and it goes up and down, and then it goes down on the other side. So instead of this, it's just like you flip it, completely down on like this. This is what it'll look like. So you'll go up, and you'll have these chops, and then it'll go down. There you go. Look how clever I am. All right. So no, not panicking. What's up, Anon? What's up, All Clove? What's up, Corgi, Fluffy Corgi, Spooner, Drake, Chris, Jonathan, Greg, Dave, Mashton, Jerry, right? All right, so for error. Yeah, the whole market's going down. I'm mad I can't buy more too. Yep. $7 average, 4,000 shares, not panicking. Yeah, I mean, if this would be the time. If you had any extra cash, this would be the time to average down. if you're at a 7, you could easily get down to at least like a 4 or 3, sorry, more like a 5 pretty quickly if you were to add some more shares. But that's not financial advice. That's just how it works math-wise. If you average something down with a lower average, you'll bring your overall average down. So, have any of you links to Fintel? I do. What are my thoughts on the after hours ATER rally? Well, it only ended up 3% up, so I don't think much of it, to be honest with you. I think people are just messing around after hours. They do that sometimes. Either that or they're signaling the other hedge funds that this was the spring and go ahead and pump it tomorrow. Who knows what they do. All right. Yeah, I think the margin call at 21K. Who knows? OT. Yeah, after hours moves. What's up, Fish? My buddy Fish. Day one covered today. Yeah, I think, let's see. What's up, Goat? Cornfield. Suck up the monthly ETFs at bargain prices. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff I want to buy. Bonds are crap. iBonds at 10% though. Yep. Bitcoin just broke 2,100 or 21,000. Ooh, rough. I haven't checked my my coins in a long time. The market's been plenty entertaining enough, so. All right. Even if I was 65, I wouldn't buy bonds. I would still buy memes. It's funny, Fish. All right. What's up, Isaac? How are you? Shadi, what's up, man? All right, Anon. Relief rally before the crash. Yeah, I mean, we could see something like that. I'm just trying to figure out how they're going to do it, because essentially what I'm seeing is you've left these big gaps here. So I don't know if they fill these gaps on the, in the intermediate time and then we see it go down all the way, or if it's just going to plummet and then they'll fill it on the way back up. Once they get down to like here, you might see one more thing, dead cat bounce, and then go down more. So anyone that doesn't know what a dead cat bounce is basically when you have a steep drop off and you have a thing come up, but it still goes down more. That's called a dead cat bounce. Because even, it's morbid, yeah. But that's what the nickname of it is. So, and Evergrande Real Estate is getting removed from the market June 16th. Yeah, I don't know how much effect that's having, to be honest with you, but, I don't know how much collateral was there. I would imagine most of the collateral already got out by now, but, I mean, yeah, we'll see. All right, let's see. What's up? Yes. And I don't know you, but MicroStrategy publicly stated that they would have to post more collateral if Bitcoin drops to 21,000. Basically, they're going to get margin called. I didn't see that headline, but that doesn't. I mean, I was busy today at work, so I didn't see a lot of stuff. I was keeping an eye on the market, but. MicroStrategy's slump as, I mean, I don't think this matters. I can probably show this and not get in trouble. So they bet $1 billion on Bitcoin, and they're about to get margin called. Oof, that is rough. There were over $1 billion unrealized loss. Rough. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you've got people's economies that are right now in like their currency that's going through it. Didn't like Venezuela like tie their entire like fiat currency to like Bitcoin? Yeah, that's their legal. That's their legal currency in Venezuela right now. So they bet on decentralization with Bitcoin and like, oh my God, like I can't even imagine. Like, oof, oof. I mean, then again, I'm watching the dollar just get absolutely annihilated with, as far as DXY is different than like the buying power. We have inflation running really hot, so it's not quite the same. But yeah. But yeah, I mean, we could see that. I hope the market tanks more tomorrow, then I'll buy more. Yeah, I mean, we're going to have a lot of buying opportunities for those of us who are at least, have plenty of years work, work wise, If you're sitting here near retirement age, then obviously this doesn't feel very good. But if you look at the long-term S&P, it does go up. So I mean, you may have a slowdown for maybe a couple years, and then it could go back up. It just means that you have to be more like, you have to figure out what's going to move. And I'm working with some people, and we're trying to come up with like, I don't want to blow up anybody's spot, but we're working on some things to try to identify plays before they happen. People have approached me, and we've talked about it, and I think it's a good idea. We're going to start trying to, keep our eyes and ears open for new things, and obviously I'm always going to be in Aterian as long as the shorts have short interest against them, because at this point right now, let's see what the Ortex looks like. I didn't look today. Anyone see it today? How's it going? I don't know if their numbers are even right anymore. I mean, I've gotten to this point now where I'm realizing how they calculate all their stuff, and I'm like I know. Yeah, they didn't return any. It's just, hovering around 9 million roughly estimated. We're still 100% utilization. We've been that way since March 8th. It's highly unusual, I can tell you, going for 4 months, right? March, April, May, June. We're halfway through June. That's not normal to have 100% utilization for 4 months. That's not normal. So, all right. The price goes below 242. ATER will have to list goodwill impairment on their books for second quarter. If it does, expect the company to buy back shares. Yeah, I mean, I would imagine at that point it would make sense for them to do it, because they actually could improve shareholder equity. And I've actually written them and said, hey, listen, this might make a lot of sense for you guys if, if you consider this. Because if you think about what like GameStop did a share buyback, and as soon as they did that, FTDs just flew through the roof. So I've planted that seed, hopefully, and I mean, obviously they don't have to do anything I say. I contacted them and I said, if you guys get too much further below, you guys might want to consider buying back some shares, because this would be the time to do it. Especially considering that they already established what they bought or they sold them for. So if the stock does go below, 242 or even lower, if they can push it down again to like the 213, 210 mark, 210 is probably the more likely of the two, because that's the previous 52-week low. I would expect them to go, maybe if they still keep pushing on that, that would be when I would pull the trigger on it. And remember, they've just passed something that said that they don't have to get board approval, right? So they could technically just, I think, pass it if they really wanted to. So that's always a surprise that could happen. All right. I refuse to sell ATER for a loss at that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going anywhere. I'll buy more down here. I mean, what do we see for the FinTel? Did it move at all, or do they only update it in the mornings? If I type in Tyrion, look at their ownership, retail ownership, and then go to companies with the most retail ownership, I see 7.53 for retail ownership. Ownership of the float. And I think it was at like 7.48. Yeah, you guys are keeping a spreadsheet on this, right? Oh, it's El Salvador. It's the legal tender. Okay. And people above were trying to tell you that MicroStrategy is going to have to post collateral if Bitcoin drops below 21,000. Yeah, I mean, do you guys know what they're invested in? Because that's what's going to be basically going down if they're giving away. Let's see. Let's see what. Okay. MicroStrategy, information technology. All right. So MicroStrategy, IT. Yeah, if you guys want to look up this stuff, but I mean, I just pulled up Whale Wisdom. Rocket. And on what platform am I using? This is Webull, and I also have Thinkorswim, which I use this more for trading. I usually use Webull just because it looks nicer when I stream, because you can see the level 2 as opposed to like, you know. Need some thoughts on Aterian. Yeah, so here's the deal, right? So obviously the market's getting pushed down, but if you look at Tyrion right now, it looks like it's coming up on a spring area. And if I was going to be a betting man, I would say you may retest this 52-week low, right? That could be a possibility. But once you get past 220s, that's when it starts getting like kind of like, okay, how much more short do you want to go? Because if you open new short positions down here, like right now it's just the market selling off that's pushing us down, but once it gets into oversold territory for too long, you're going to have institutions that will start buying this because just fundamentally it's worth a shot for them. And retail was able to stack more down here than when it was at $6-7. Like, you can buy basically like 2-3 times as many down here. So even those little guys are starting to add up when they're like, all right, if I'm sitting here stuck, I'm going to just average down. So say, for example, you had someone that bought in at 5, right? So they bought in at 5, and now the stock's half of what they are, but they're not willing to take a loss on it. So what they're doing is they're just averaging down each week, and those little things, start adding up over time. Like, Rakesh, you're the same Rakesh that's in there, right? Talking about didn't you guys start like a spreadsheet on Aterian and sorry. I'm pretty sure you guys started some sort of spreadsheet that was tracking all that stuff. So I had something here that I was gonna snack on, and then I'm pretty sure my kids took my candy. Like, I don't see it anywhere, and that's probably fair because I did steal their jelly beans. So, I found it. I must have moved it. All right, we're good. So yeah, so I think what's going to happen is that it's going to get pushed down into a spring area, right? Yeah, so like here. So you get pushed down because before we tested this area before and ran. Oops. Shoot. I moved the all right. I think it was at 408 roughly, but that's where we entered it. Okay. So we bounced off this perfectly here. We were starting to go up and we were following this path. It broke down, right? Hit that low. This was the actual spring test. 3 weeks later, we make that run. Now we're doing the same thing. And if you look at this part right here, and then boom, that's the spring. Look what we're doing right now. Very similar path down, starting to press down. We might have a couple green days just to get back up, and then that's the last bit of the spring is you just apply that pressure down. At that point, people are really buying down in this level, and then that's when it will move up. And what are the chances of institutions selling around these levels? Like, honestly, most of them are probably not. They're probably just lending out their shares to shorts and making some money that way. Most of them actually have pretty bad averages if you actually look at the 13Fs. On institutions, and you see what their actual score is. I'll show you. Let me see. All right. So ownership. So for example, Columbia Asset Management owns 1,320 shares. Their average price is $31.86. Vanguard Consumer Discretionary Index Fund, Admiral shares, right? They've got 18,000 shares. Their average price is 24. Royal Bank of Canada, 23 is their average price. JP Morgan Chase, Ensign Peak Advisors, all these guys have averages in the 20s. Let's see. BlackRock, small cap VI fund class. They have an average of 19. So a lot of you guys have better averages than BlackRock, Vanguard, JP Morgan, Chase. Morgan Stanley has 140,000 shares at $19. And so if they haven't sold by now, they're probably not selling long. Yeah, they're just going to hold it. Like BlackRock has 1.8 million shares, and their average cost is $16.64. Here, I'll cut and paste it for you guys for a second, just so you can see, and you can make yourselves feel better because those dummies at BlackRock. Those guys. Here, look at this. BlackRock owns 1.8 million shares of Aterian at $16.64. You guys still want to complain about your $5 average cost? These guys have 1.8 million shares, probably sitting on what's the loss on that? Yeah, I mean, if they haven't sold by now, probably not selling. We'll see. But you guys can all feel better that you have better averages than BlackRock. Those dummies at BlackRock, right? They bought Aterian at $16 a share. So, yeah. I'm just reading through. There's a whole bunch of these, but Yeah, you know who's like some of the best average is the guys that that are buying in now. So, who's the Armistice Capital? Those guys, their average price right now is 305. So is Virtue, Wolverine Trading, Barclays. They all are actually adding. Renaissance, they're adding. Their average is 305 as well. Right, so these ones are just getting, let's see. We sort by date. File date. Yeah, but most of these guys, let's see. Yeah. And yeah, like what will happen is at some point, why aren't institutions buying more at these prices? Because basically what happens is when they have algos that are buying and selling shares of all stocks, not just Aterian, you guys have to realize this. So most of the time, computers are just being, computers are making decisions on what's being bought and what's being sold. And they're doing so through ETFs, they're doing through, but like they basically get programmed to buy and sell things when they're risk on or risk off. And so right now, with all the things going on in the world, most of these stocks are risk off. So what they'll do is they'll actually exit out of some of their ETFs, all of these things, and they'll actually just bleed out shares slowly or quickly, depending on what the market's doing. But like that's what they're doing is these stocks they'll ebb and flow throughout the entire like month. So it's not like some guy going, it really is undervalued, Aterian. It can happen on small offices, but the big ones, they're typically just trading through ETFs, and they're also, if they have, okay, this is, one will average down, or, we'll reduce our position while it's risk off at this point, and then once, we decide to go back in, we'll risk on, and then once they decide, okay, risk off, well, let's go ahead and start buying back in, the computers will start doing that too. So that's why usually Tyrion will follow the market when it's selling off, and then at times they'll do, they'll actually buy in during when the markets are running up. It doesn't feel like it sometimes, but it does work that way. And you've been in other squeeze plays. How do you feel about Aterian now compared to those before they ran? So typically they go down before they go up. I mean, if you look here, like this was like doom and gloom. People were despairing. Like, I mean, a lot of people were down 90% on the stock at this point, and everyone was like, $1 is next, $1 is next, and then like literally like 2 weeks later, it ran to 7. So whenever I see it getting pushed down, typically what I see is there's an opportunity for retail to buy discounted shares and also lock up more of the float if that's, my goal is I'm trying to get as many shares of this company as possible. So when it does reverse, I'm in a good place and I'm at a great average. I'd love to have a like $3 average on this stock. That way, if it does move, I'm going to be super profitable with the amount of shares I have. That's what I do. Like I just, when things are down, I'll buy more if I like the company, and then I'll just accumulate, and then once they move back up, I'll be good. I mean, I think I told some of you guys I bought Switch as an IPO. All right, so here's Switch. We're up here. I bought them as an IPO in the 20s. So I was buying my shares in this range. And what did it do? It did what DTC did. It just went straight down off the IPO, right? And it went all the way down to the 6s. And instead of freaking out and selling in one of these, sell-offs, I just added more dollar cost average down, when it got down in the sixes, I added a huge, chunk of change to it because I was like, this is just too low. It didn't make sense to me. And sure enough, what happened? This is the spring. Look, you hit your spring, chopped around a little bit more, and then it starts moving up slowly, right? And then you start moving up more aggressively, and then you get some momentum. But look at this. If you had freaked out and sold, you bought it here and you sold maybe here, you would have missed out on it being now $30 a share here. Like, you gotta just understand how this stuff works. My average right now is, I think, like 415, something like that. I'm still trying to get it down, but it's getting harder now because I'm starting to already be pretty low. So I would need the stock to be even lower for it to really move down significantly. Or if it just hangs out down here long enough, I will eventually get it under 4. But at this point, I still have a 4 average, slightly over 4. So. But yeah, I mean, I started buying heavily on the Tyrion but it went to book value, which was like 420 something, and then I didn't think it was going to go much further than that, but it has. So I've been able to bring my average down by buying in the 2s. I think it's like 415 roughly, but yeah. But yeah, whenever you see a spring, typically what happens, and look back here, right? So you have this thing, it gets pushed down, you have the rundown, hit the spring here, and then it moves back up. So it'll happen again. How willing you'll be able to quit your job and stream full time with your gains? Yeah, I mean, if this thing ran to, I don't know, like 20, I'd be able to do pretty well. Now, I still need a solid, income, so like it really depends on how much I would make on this. I would have made a ton more when I had like, $45,000 worth of options that all expired worthless on that last run. That stung. That was pretty rough. It doesn't feel very good, because I bought those a long time ago. I didn't spend 45 grand right before it ran. I spent it like, 8 months out when it was actually in the money, and it dropped from like 7, 8 to 210, and then. Why did the MACD cross over for only 2 days? Oh, because the market tanked and it brought everything down with it. So we were having momentum. We were about to cross over on the MACD, and then we had those nice 2 days, and then it's just been bleeding again. So it's tight. You can see everything's getting tighter. Like the MACD's tight. It's, and it's going to eventually just, you'll see some like RSI pop up and go from there. But yeah, that's why Earthium is, just because it was, if the market had been green this week, or like Friday and then Monday of this week, we would have seen that crossing over and start building. TTM would have moved over, all that stuff. So that's what she said. Yeah, I mean, but like, this is not healthy. Look at that. You think that's healthy? You think any stock's going to fare well? Like, no. You want to look at us? We're doing the same thing as the SPY, just absolutely getting nailed down. At least we finished with a doji, but like, oof. All right. Okay, ready? Let's see. Here. Make money in this market. Unless you're inverse, there's like a handful of stocks that actually were. Tesla down 7%, Amazon down 5.5%, Google down 4%. Like, your large caps are getting absolutely murdered. Berkshire B. Like, everything's just getting like absolutely nailed. So unless you're inverse the market, you have to find plays like this that are going to run. So Yeah, alt did well. Fish found that one. Um, this one I think was supposed to be on our radar. There's another one. I think it's Indo, right? Indo's down today, but it did run. Right? Is that the right one? I don't think it's that one. Maybe it is. But Indo, HUSA, right? They're both down, but I was going to say small float. It's going to be interesting to see what happens on those ones. And then, like, I don't think the market can keep tanking like this without the hedges getting margin called. I mean, it depends if they're the ones pulling all the stuff out. So I want to make sure you guys understand something. Here, check this out. You want to see who's short the market? I'm going to do it by value. Here. I'm going to screenshot this for you guys. Look who's short the market. This is by the put value. CTC has a 44 million, right? 100 million? Or, yeah, so the 44 million, where's that built? Put value in thousands. So you add another set of zeros on there. Is it billion? Right? Because this is 44 million. So this must be, you add another 3 zeros on the end of this. So $44 billion put on the SPY. Citadel, next biggest, right? Look, they're shorting all the, like, big stuff. Yeah, billion. So 44 billion, 33 billion. They're all betting on the SPY going down. And if the SPY goes down, they'll make more money. Because look, they're lopsided. Both of these guys have more puts than calls. So they're net down on this. And they're also shorting it. So if you look, Citadel's shorting it even more than these guys. Bank of America, Deer Park Corp, Citadel Advisors, all these guys are shorting and dropping the stock market, and they're making money on this. So don't think that all these guys are going to lose control because they're margin called. They're the ones pushing down the market. The SPY is doing what it's doing because these guys are behind it. Don't get it twisted. They might be tanking the market just to stay afloat because they can. Way too much power. They have way too much power. But yeah, this is why the market, that's why people get upset. Lose control. Hey, Anon. Loose control? I'm just reading. Yeah. Let's see. Hold on. Aren't hedge funds already sold out mostly before the summer? They usually reset in the summer. Yeah, like so they've pulled. If you look at the SPY, they did a Wyckoff distribution. I called it out back when I was looking at it with Laser and a couple other guys. I said up here, I said this looks like distribution, and everyone kind of was like, no, and then I was right. It goes up, distribution down. I was waiting for you to catch all that looseness. Okay. Yeah, and people that wanted to know about IM, was it this one? Yeah, they were down 10% too. So like there was a couple, like the oil ones, it was like them, HUSA, and Indo, right? Those were the ones. And look, they were all down about 10 to 15% on all of them. I still like HUSA, I think, out of all these. Indo and HUSA are like the ones that are interesting to me. IMPP is going to be, I'll have to look more at that one again. But anyway. All right. So yeah, we'll take a look at all this stuff. I'm trying to write the DD, guys. I'm sorry. I've gotten to this point now where like my work is really demanding. My boss like came in on Monday and was like, I'm looking at selling, something, and they want me to do some of the legwork on it. So I actually have to do some of the due diligence on, not gonna give away what I do, but I'm having to do a bunch of paperwork right now for my my company, and it's not a whole lot of fun, and then also keeps me from being able to work on writing DD all day long like I do in the winter. So all right, IMPP is out of Greece. They have 4 tankers. They're being cut off from oil shipping because Russia took over certain areas. Okay, so that's what's going on with them. Well, if they're getting cut off, that's not a good thing because that's cutting off their money. HUSA. So anyway, and then let's take a look. DTC got like hammered today too. Could we retest this bottom here? Sure. This stock, I'm still telling you guys. I went through the 13Fs on this one. Just want to show you guys because I know we were talking about it yesterday. But just check this out, right? So I went through and I was like, I want to go through every single filing. I need to make sure I'm right about this. And this is what I'm trying to do with. So I made this sheet to make it a little bit easier. So check this out, right? This is DTC. All right. So DTC right here, I went through every single filing, and it was a pain in the butt, but I did it. So Class A shares, and I added up every single Form 4 for the SEC stuff, right? And I came up with all these numbers. This is all the stuff that's reported on their Form 4s and their 13Gs. So when you add up all these numbers, you get 53 million shares. Total shares outstanding is 63 million. So, if you take 53 million away from 63, you get a float then that is 10 million, like 10,300,000. 10.30, right? So then I went through the 13Fs, and I can show you. 13Fs are all right here, right? So I even left these guys out, and I went down here, and I'll show you. So you can sort by 13Fs, right? And I'm not going to touch any of the MPs. I'm just going to touch the 13Fs. So if I go from here to here, you'll see that I have a number of 12 million shares, right? So I'll go back here. 12 million shares of institutional ownership through the 13Fs. That gives you a negative 1.7 million float, a free float. Now, you could assume that I don't know what to tell you guys at this point because, like, we even did the S3 method, which is the guys like the EHOR or whatever his name is, and it came out 200% short interest on this stock. And I'm still scratching my head because I'm going, like, literally, I went through every single thing, right? And look, there's Class B shares too. So like I was like, okay, maybe that has something to do with the Class B shares. Like, no, like they only count the float as the Class A shares, and these Class Bs have not been touched, so they're still there being reported, and they're not part of the Class A's. So I don't know what to tell you guys, but what I'm looking at right now, and the reason why I think this stock is so liquid, look at their volume today. They had less than 500,000 shares traded. There's no liquidity on the stock, and there's no volume on the stock. Like if this stock got like attention, it would probably fly, because there's just, I don't think they have any shares. Like I'm pretty sure after going through all the filings and adding all these up, I don't think they have any shares. And I think the short interest, I mean, if you even just did this, like let's just go really conservative. We take 2.8 million divided by that float, right? This is where you are if we do percentage, right? 27. And that's what they are reporting on, I think, Fintel and Ortex, right? Let me check Ortex real quick. Fintel and Ortex. All right. DTC. They're reporting DTC as having a free float of 14 million. I don't know where they're getting that number. Right? So I've got 10 million because I added all these up. So off the bat, their number is probably going to be lower than mine, because I actually went through every single filing and was able to pull out all this information. All right, so moving on with that, we'll go here to short interest. And what do they have? They're only reporting 17.96. So, and they went through a time where they had a long stretch of from February 8th to April 22nd. They were 100% utilization. So, super interesting. Something's going on with this. I don't know exactly what it is. Not a ton of liquidity. Right? So we're gonna see eventually, but if this stock got volume, it would be very, very interesting to see what happens with that, because there's a lot of institutional ownership. But yeah, you're right. There's something that doesn't add up there. All right. What time is it? All right, it's about that time. I usually try to go for about an hour and a half, and I'm at that. What about you guys? Is everything good? You guys everyone's good? Anything new or exciting to report? Obviously. All right. Well, if no one else has got anything going on, what I'll do is I'll jump off here, get some sleep, and then I'm going to, I know I'm going to have to do some work tomorrow on this project, but I should be able to at least, I'm going to try to take some breaks and keep plugging away at the Aterian numbers, because I want to really button up the float now that we have confirmation from investor relations, and then also what's going on with, I want to make sure I have the most accurate information as I can to write this DD. So I don't want to loosey-goosey it. Where are the porn bots? I missed them. I'm no longer cool enough to have porn bots anymore, guys. I'm sorry. I don't get enough viewers. I think they have it cut off at like 75, and we haven't reached 75 viewers. So, all right. Well, if you guys haven't already, please like and subscribe. Last warning, if you can, because I'll be jumping off. So if you can like the video and hit the subscribe button, that would help out the algo. And then I'll link the Discord here. We have a free Discord. A lot of really smart people in there hanging out. So I want that free OF link. What's the OF link? Oh. All right. So there it is. And then we'll go ahead and wrap up here. But poor bots, man, spread the spread on level 2 is. Oh, OnlyFans. Gotcha. Yeah, where I post my pictures of my dad socks and New Balances with. I go cut the grass and wait. We got to get white New Balances that I cut the grass in, right? OnlyFan toe pics. Yay. Gross. All right, guys. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow on the Discord, and you guys have a great evening. All right. Have a good one.